Leprechaun in the Hood is a 2000 horror film directed by Rob Spera and stars Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun yet again in the Hood. Alright, here we are, you guys. 5 years into these Leprechaun reviews. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you guys. Some people might be wondering, did that coronavirus thing really cancel St. Patrick's Day? Not if you're a Leprechaun fan, because these movies are always available to watch, because usually they're always on TV, or you can get them for super cheap, either on demand or on DVD. And most of them were direct to video. So, here we are talking about Leprechaun yet again. This time, he's in the Hood. And in order to explain how he got there, we need to take a look at horror history to make sense of all this. This is such a weird franchise, so let's just jump into it.
Who else in the Leprechaun say yeah? Yeah!
This amateur sketch resembles what many of you say the Leprechaun looks like.
In the late 70s, of course, Halloween came out, following, Black Christmas and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Very popular slasher movies. And in the 80s, they upped the ante with not only the weird fantasy characters like Freddy or Chucky, but also mixed in comedy with horror to make kind of a unique blend of its own. And out of that came a 90s franchise, well, really one film, Leprechaun, which ended up becoming what we're talking about now, Leprechaun in the Hood. So, the first Leprechaun is mostly a horror film, and in the second, they dabble in comedy, but it's still mostly dark in tone. The third film is far more of a comedy than it is horror, but that's one of my favorite ones in the franchise. And Leprechaun 4 goes to space, and we all know how that turned out. You can watch my review from last year to talk about that movie. That's something else. And so they toned back the outlandish, setting of space and brought the Leprechaun back to Earth, specifically in the Hood. And we see this, gangster guy, played by Ice-T, go into a creepy well place and retrieve a golden flute. And at the same time, he takes the medallion off of a leprechaun statue, which ends up being, of course, the leprechaun from all of these movies. None of the continuity makes any sense. How did he get back from space? No answer. Actually, he dies in every movie and just comes back, so really it's just explained by magic, but really if you're wondering about logical flaws in the continuity of the Leprechaun franchise, you're watching for the wrong reasons. So the Leprechaun, he becomes free, the medallion gets tossed up in the air and winds up back on the Leprechaun, so Ice-T goes off with this flute. And several years later, these three up-and-coming rappers want to rap with a positive message about the Hood and want to get Ice-T's gangster cool stuff, like his gold and medallions and stuff, to sell it to make money to get to Vegas, which is funny because the third Leprechaun is in Vegas. Anyways, so they break into his house and try to steal all this stuff, of course, taking the medallion off the Leprechaun, releasing him, and stealing the gold flute. The gold flute is important because when they blow into it, it makes everybody fall in love with their music. It makes them really successful. So that's kind of a cool plot device. The little MacGuffin of the flute is kind of cool. So overall, what can I say about Leprechaun in the Hood? It's a unique experience for sure. I watched it a few years ago on a car drive, and I guess I wasn't paying attention because I hated it. And I watched it last night and prepped for this review, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit, I have to say. Now, of course, it's not a serious horror film. If you're going in to be scared, you're not going to be scared. This is a horror comedy, and in a few scenes, it actually made me chuckle, so good job, Leprechaun in the Hood. The ludicrous concept and all of these characters interacting with a leprechaun, in kind of the ghetto area of the Hood, is just such a weird thing to me that I found it really funny.
I'm here to claim me golden shillings. Now, give 'em back, or there might be killings.
Boy, don't make me laugh. You out here trying to rob Jackie D? What gang you belong to, the Shrimps?
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Oh,
Gold who?
Goldfinger.
Oh, me, little
Now find me gold in record time, or you'll suffer a bloody, hideous crime.
But the acting's actually not too bad. Ice-T, you know, plays a gangster guy. The rappers seemed actually pretty good. I like their characters. And some bad stuff happens to them. I won't spoil the ending. But, you know, I felt bad for them because I wanted to see them achieve their goal. But at the same time, they were doing bad stuff, robbing people, so you knew it was coming. Of course, the highlight of all of these Leprechaun movies is the Leprechaun himself, played awesomely by Warwick Davis. I never have a problem with him. Every time he's in these movies, he just seems to be having so much fun, you know? If you don't know, Warwick Davis is a little person actor. He was in Star Wars. He was the, original Ewok. And he was also in, a nice Leprechaun movie, too, but he got in these horror movies and just kept the ball rolling. This is his original, character. He kind of made it what it is. And I love all of the movies just because he's in them. But Leprechaun in the Hood is a mixed bag. It has some scenes where stuff can get a little draggy, but overall, it's a lot of fun. If I had to explain the entire plot, you'd probably think it's nuts, and it is. For example, the ending of the film involves two of the rappers dressing in drag to bring the leprechaun shamrock-laced weed. Yes, this is in the movie. To make the leprechaun smoke it so that he will get high off of shamrocks and lose his powers, so they can escape with the gold flute. This movie is something else, you guys, but if you want to celebrate St. Patrick's Day in the most bizarre way possible, check out the Leprechaun films, especially Leprechaun in the Hood. I'm going to give Leprechaun in the Hood a 3 out of 5 skulls on the RIP Reviews rating scale. Interesting film, you guys. This series is so bizarre, but if you haven't, go back and watch my other reviews of the other Leprechaun films. Some of them are kind of dated, but you can still see what I thought about those movies. And let me know in the comments, what is your favorite of the Leprechaun franchise? I might have to go with part 3. I love the original 3, and the space one's just really weird. This one was pretty enjoyable, though, and it was kind of funny, so yeah. I guess next year I'm looking at Back to the Hood, so get excited for that. Thank you for watching. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And remember, for all things Halloween, this is Hauntformer.
Left in the hood, come to do no good. Left in the hood, come to do no good.